Are you ready?
Start it up.
We're fired up. What is up, everybody?
What is up, everybody?
A very special From the Hill today, coming at you live from Five Saints Distillery here in historic Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Historic, and it is historic because it is the first live From the Hill on site. We're at Five Saints Distillery on Main Street in Norristown.
That's not why it's historic. It's historic because of the building, Nick.
And the building, of course.
Yeah, it's more the building than us.
Of course.
You know. So we got a nice crowd here. Everybody's out here clapping, and you got the background music going.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for showing up today. We appreciate your support of the podcast. There'll be many more to come. We are just very appreciative that everybody's here. We're going to talk some sports today. You ready to get talking some sports?
I am ready to get talking some sports, but I wanted to give our man John a quick shout out. John is the owner and proprietor of this fine establishment here.
Round of applause for John, everybody.
Give John a round of applause.
Thanks for having us here, John. We appreciate it.
Hosted us today. He's behind the bar. Make sure you take care of your bartender.
Take care of your bartenders. Get some drinks up there. They have some amazing drinks. This is the rooftop lemonade that I have here. It's unbelievable.
I got myself
It's very refreshing.
Moscow Mule. Comes in the mule glass. Very good.
Everybody enjoy. Have a good time. There's tomato pie over here for you. Eat up.
By the way, don't forget to pick up some of their home distilled liqueurs that they have here.
Of course.
They got the blood orange liqueur. They got the vodka. They got the whiskey, and they got the tequila.
And the gin.
And the gin.
You missed the gin.
I did miss the gin. See, that's what you're here for.
All unbelievable.
Keep me on my toes.
So you can see behind us here, the distillery is right behind us. We have Angelina, Jane, and John. You can all see right here.
Yep, those are the stills behind us.
So you can come here and you can take a tour. They have tours all the time. You can check it out, see how the magic happens.
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
All right, let's get started, Nicky. So, a lot of things to talk about. First thing I want to talk about, and let me just start by saying, we're not getting political, guys. And if anybody wants to come up here and get political, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to argue politics with you. But we did have kind of a big political event happen here in Philadelphia, didn't we? So the Eagles got disinvited. That's actually a word now in the dictionary, by the way, disinvited. They got disinvited to the White House by our President Trump. What did you think about that, Prof?
Well, I think it's interesting. I went and I looked back at the history of how this all started, and it wasn't really official until Reagan brought it into. Reagan made it official that every sports team that won the championship was invited to the White House. So before then, it wasn't into effect.
When you say made it official, like how did he make it official? He just decided he was going to invite every team?
He made it almost a tradition. He made it standard for every league that whoever won the championship, they came in, they were invited. And a couple months after they won or whatever, they were invited to come over and visit the White House and kind of get the behind-the-scenes tour.
Well, when we say every league, what are we talking about here? We're talking about basketball, college football,
right.
Football.
Right. So
then
it started. I think the last one invited was the NHL. So it's the NHL. The first team that was invited was the Pittsburgh Penguins of 1991. Shout out to J. Ron Polo out there. He loves the Penguins. They were the last ones, I believe, that were invited. So it kind of dates back to 1865, and Andrew Johnson was the first one that welcomed an athletic team. They were an amateur team at the time. He welcomed the Brooklyn Athletics and the Washington Nationals. They were amateur teams, but they were the first teams to ever get in the White House.
That's good knowledge right there.
Exactly. Yeah,
what sports were these?
They were both baseball teams.
Okay.
So the first pro baseball team was 1869. It was the Cincinnati Red Stockings, and that was Ulysses Grant.
Okay.
Invited them. The first World Series champ was the 1924 Washington Senators.
Okay.
And obviously, we know Calvin Coolidge was in office at that point.
Yes, that's common knowledge, right?
Common knowledge.
Yes.
The first NBA champions, the 1963 Boston Celtics. We were around for that.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Bill Russell.
Yep. I mean, kind of around.
Yeah. NCAA basketball, Indiana University, Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford.
So who's the first Super Bowl champions you think were invited?
I mean, if I had to take a guess, I'd probably say the Patriots for whatever reason.
No.
Maybe the 49ers?
No.
Steelers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
1980 Steelers.
Okay.
They were invited by Jimmy Carter.
Gotcha.
And then, like I mentioned, the 1991 Pittsburgh Penguins by George H.W. Bush. They were the last of the
majors to make it.
Sports.
Well, so now it was a tradition for a long time running for all these teams, but does anybody care anymore? I think even less about talking politically. Like, who cares? The world is so small now with social media and the way everybody connects. Like, who cares? Is it a big deal?
I think that's the biggest part of it. I think that now everybody is so aware of everyone's political beliefs or ideologies that to go, you kind of get kind of get alienated. Like it's now a team decision.
Right.
Whereas before Twitter and before Facebook and before everybody knew everything about everyone, it was kind of just like, okay, you all get together, you go down.
Yeah.
It's not broadcast. You
get your picture taken with the president.
Nobody sees the speech that the president makes for you.
Right.
You just kind of go down there, take a couple pictures, see the behind the scenes, and you go from there. But now everything is, you see everything. You're going to see everything part of this trip, and I think that's what really changed everything. So this all started a while back. There's a number of people that have opted to stay away from the White House invite. Michael Jordan stayed away.
That's
Larry
true.
Bird stayed away.
That's also true.
But
their teams went.
Their teams did go.
Their teams went. They just didn't go.
And I don't know if that was political belief or if Michael Jordan. I think he was golfing that day. Just instead,
I don't think he just couldn't care less.
He had a golf.
As with most things, MJ was ahead of the curve.
But it started getting political not that long ago. So with Tim Thomas, the goalie from the Bruins, he stayed out of it for political beliefs, and then Matt Burke, the center for the Ravens, he stayed out of it in 2013 because of other political
alignments.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't want to diverge into politics much, but
but that kick-started everything.
It did, and as with like the way that we define people now, it's almost who did you vote for, and then you get categorized by like who you voted for, and that's sort of the same thing here. I don't think it should be a political statement if the president invites you to the White House and you're anti-Trump or anti-Republican, but your team goes and you go show up. I don't think it's proving a point by not going either. I just think it's stupid. But then again, I think the invitation itself is stupid. So I think the whole thing's stupid, and I think it was made way too big of a deal.
I don't think it's stupid. I think it's a good opportunity. It's an opportunity of a lifetime that these guys are missing out on, just to even see the White House. You don't even have to talk to the president. You don't have to listen to the president. Just to see the White House, obviously the history there, and get the behind-the-scenes tour.
What if they went to the White House and then didn't go see the president?
I mean, it's an opportunity to do that.
You could, right?
You don't have to sit there and talk to the guy. I don't know. I think these guys are missing out on an opportunity. I think that I would want to go. In the long run of it, what's going to get better from this?
It's not going to change anything.
Exactly.
It's not going to change anything.
You're just missing an opportunity to see history and see
the Warriors,
something that you wouldn't otherwise have the chance to do.
The Warriors ain't going.
No, absolutely not. They're not going to be invited.
No. Well, we'll talk about them in a little bit. So let's talk about actually something a bit more serious, but a bit more quirky to happen here in town this week.
Yeah.
So there was a whole, I call it the Brian Colangelo Twitter saga that happened here. And this is really bizarre. I've never heard of anything like this, but it doesn't surprise you, but it's the age of social media, and now everything gets blown out of proportion on social media. But this is just struck me as weird. So let's kind of just explain what happened. Earlier in the week, a report came out that Brian Colangelo was linked to 5 anonymous Twitter accounts that were tweeting anti-Sixers sentiments on a lot of things, or sensitive Sixers information about player health and that sort of thing. The names were obscure. I know we were joking about one of them, right? Eric Sr.
Eric Jr. Eric Sr.
Yeah.
Eric Sr. is on the Norristown softball message board.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah, what was really interesting about this is that The Ringer did this report. It came out through The Ringer, which is I don't know, is that a blog? It started by Bill Simmons, formerly of ESPN. Now he does his own thing. And what they did was they came across these accounts. There was the gentleman that did the article. His name was Ben Dietrich. He came across these accounts. He saw and found all 5 of them. How he came across it, we don't know.
Well, the fascinating part is about how they found it. They were using analytics around the time that the tweets were out and who they were linked to, and then they were tracing IP addresses and noticed that they were all going from the same IP address, which was the same burner phone. So it was actually 5 accounts on the same phone.
5 accounts on the same phone, but the great job of the reporting is when they called the Sixers and they asked about this, they made the Sixers aware of 2 accounts. And once they made the Sixers aware of 2 accounts, they monitored all 5. So what they were able to do was they saw kind of the action from the Sixers on those 2 accounts, but they also monitored the other 3, which were immediately shut down, which obviously triggered in their mind. These things are all linked together.
Right.
So a good job reporting. Once they had that, that's when you say, you go ahead and print that story.
Well, that's not even where the weirdness comes in, right? Because burner accounts happen all the time. But where the real weirdness starts is that they end up linking it to Brian Colangelo by IP address.
Who admitted of the 1 account.
Right. Because one of them was his. Now,
let me first say this about Twitter burner accounts and being the GM of a basketball
team. By the way,
team.
Nick is the From the Hill resident Twitter expert. Did you get your blue check mark yet, buddy?
I'm still working on that. I have a couple calls in to get my verification on Twitter.
Getting your blue check mark?
But I was going to say something. What's interesting about the GM burner account is if you're a GM of a basketball team, that's a good idea. I would have a burner account too. You monitor people without them knowing. You want to see what's going on around your organization. So the first burner account that they found and presented to the Sixers, it was following various people throughout the entire Sixers organization, not just the players.
This is an interesting take that you have on this. I didn't think you were going to go this way.
No, I absolutely would. It's good practice to know what's going on within your organization, so that you can monitor things that are coming out from your PR staff. You can monitor things that are coming out from guys in your front office.
Right, so you're like undercover boss, right? Like you put the burner account out there and you follow everybody that's in the organization, including the players, and then you can just sort of undercover boss it where you're reading their tweets, you're seeing what they're doing, but you don't have to respond.
Absolutely.
But
why wouldn't you?
Here's the problem with the burner accounts, though. When you're on Twitter, right, it's almost like it's like this stinging desire. Like they had to fire out tweets. Like if a true burner account that was made for that purpose, they would just be listening, right? They wouldn't be doing anything.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, but
that's
this
what
guy,
I would be doing.
he had that burning desire to retweet, like he had to tweet at people and had to tweet information out. Or apparently not this guy's wife, right?
Well,
allegedly,
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second.
You think she took the fall for
I
him?
don't believe that for 1 second, because if you hear the history of Brian Colangelo, and he's gotten defensive with reporters in the past, he's very protective of his image and how he's portrayed in the media, and this just fits the same narrative. So for him to say that it was his wife and basically throw her under the bus, I don't believe that for a second.
Well,
I
don't know. I'm not sure if I believe it. Here's the thing: how egotistical do you have to be using these burner accounts to like retweet? Look, I mean, you're sitting next to one of the most egotistical people you ever meet.
No.
But like, I don't have 5 Twitter burner accounts. I mean, not that I'm anybody, but I don't get it. Like, how vain and insecure do you have to be using these accounts to go after your own players? Like, he was going after Embiid on that one burner account pretty hard and talking about how you really like Ben, and then trying to burn the former regime in Hinkie, talking about Markelle Fultz and all the moves they made. Like, literally the vanity there blows my mind.
Well, what I think it started, and you've seen this on Facebook, you've seen this on Twitter, it's people basically fishing for a response, right? Mm-hmm. So people put things out there that are vague, or that they're it's just an open statement, and they just want somebody to respond. They want a reaction. And I think that's kind of what he was looking for, to put something out there on the internet where it's open to. He's tagging reporters, telling them what to ask. He's doing a lot of things to kind of just to get the conversation going.
Right. Well, isn't it dangerous to be messing around with Joel Embiid on Twitter, though? Like, he's a savage.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with him.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's playing with fire off the bat, because you're going to mess around with Embiid. He don't care on Twitter. That dude's a loose cannon. He's great. He's a young kid. But you're going to start messing around with him on Twitter, tweeting disparaging things. All it takes is him to retweet it or notice it, and then all of a sudden people are going to start looking at the account.
Sure. And I think Colangelo kind of had the feeling of invincibility, because just coming from his basketball background, he's always been protected by his dad and his dad's name, and I think that's part of the insecurity with him as well, is that he wanted to fish for those responses, to get people to kind of feel like he's his own guy and he's making his own moves, and kind of
see that,
support. He's protecting himself with those tweets, and he wants a response to kind of convince people that, hey, I'm my own guy. I'm doing the right thing here by this organization. I'm not all bad. And that's where I think a lot of it comes
at
from.
the end of the day, so he resigned, but essentially the Sixers were like, dude, you're out of here. And once it found out that they were linked to, even if it was linked to his wife, right, it doesn't matter. You can't continue to be the general manager for this team. How are you going to look Embiid in the eye in the meeting room?
Sure.
And be like, oh, okay. So he resigns, but really they're like, dude, get out of here.
Right.
But so the question I have is two parts.
Yep.
The first is, okay, let's run out the scenario. Let's say it's actually his wife, right? Let's believe that for 10 seconds. Is there a divorce on the horizon? Like, because essentially then if it's his wife just cost him his general manager job, an NBA general manager job. Like, literally, I'd probably give 3 toes to be an NBA general manager, and his wife just cost him the job from Twitter burner accounts.
Yeah, I don't believe that it was her to begin with, so no.
No, but you got to play along.
No, I don't think so from the statements that he's made so far. I think that I don't think he's going to be in a GM role any longer. Maybe he will be within an organization in the front office, but not in a GM role because of the player relationship that you have to have and the trust that you have to be in that role.
Yeah.
But
All right, so second piece then, where I was going, are you upset to see him leave? Are you upset to see Colangelo leave as GM?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I kind of had a follow-up question to that. Number one, who fills that role?
Well,
and we can probably get into that in the second part of our NBA conversation. But the other question I have, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, is did Sam Hinkie get this ball rolling?
Did you see my Twitter poll that I put out?
No.
Should the Sixers bring Sam Hinkie back as the GM?
No. I don't believe they should.
I think they should.
But my question is,
I really think they should.
My question is he the one that tipped off the ringer to this stuff? Because if you know what he's doing
the
now,
smoking gun, huh?
Right. If you know what he's doing
the
now,
smoking gun.
He's a brain. Sam Hinkie is just a big brain, and he's very into computer analysis, statistics. He teaches classes at Stanford in artificial intelligence, and it's been said that he's the guy that
you think he sniffed this out? You think he saw the accounts?
That's a theory.
Put the link together.
That's a theory.
That's an interesting theory.
It's a theory that, hey, you know what? You guys kicked me out. I got this process started. Well, this guy's filling in. He's taking all the credit for me. Let me show you a little bit more about him. Because he would have the ability to go out and do those searches. And
yeah, I mean, he probably wrote his own algorithm that could put that together.
Think about it. To find 5 separate Twitter accounts that are all tweeting the same thing. I mean, there's probably a billion of them out there. But to link them all back to one guy,
well,
that's
it's not, though, because I'll tell you. So, and we were talking about social media marketing and stuff, and not to diverge, but there are companies out there that you can pay that will increase your following in social media, and they do targeted type of attacks. So it'll take like 2 or 3 months of a cycle, and they'll be targeting in a certain area, right? They have algorithms that do this. People in a certain area that follow certain topics, that follow and it will be.
But they don't go out searching for one person to link.
No, but it's a net, and it grabs them, and then as it gets you lower and lower the criteria, it just things fall through the cracks until it scoops up the people that they want.
You don't have any feeling that this was kind of an internal thing. It had to be. I mean, this had to be some sort of internal thing that dimed this guy out.
It's crazy.
I don't think Ben Dietrich was a guy out there saying, "Let me target Brian
Colangelo.
Let me pick."
No,
GM.
I do think it's bizarre how that just showed up, right? Like, who would be looking into that? Who would be looking into the fact that this 5 accounts just randomly were tweeting sort of anti-Sixer stuff, right? Like, I do agree with that.
I mean, The Ringer is a Boston-based podcast, but
yeah, okay. I don't know, man. I think it's bizarre. I
think he's out of basketball as far as a GM position goes. I don't see him getting back in.
I don't either.
As a GM anywhere. And what's interesting is who the Sixers are going to get now that we're less than 2 weeks away from the draft. We're close to
for the draft.
A week and a half away.
For the draft,
right?
It's going to be Brett Brown.
Which I trust Brett Brown.
He's gifted offensively.
I trust Brett Brown. I trust his staff so far and what he's done with this team so far. I think that he has the trust of the players as well. I like the extension that they got him. We talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, yeah, I agree. I know he caught a lot of flack this year, but as a coach, I still think they're in the right hands for their team moving forward. This is really an important draft, though, because this is sort of like the end of these Hinkie golden tickets that he got us, right? Like, it's the end of the Hinkie treasure chest.
You're going to be at the end of the list.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is the end of the Hinkie treasure chest that he gave us, and so this is a really important draft. Obviously, how Fultz turns out, what happens in free agency, but this is an important draft. Like, you need to get another star out of the last golden ticket that Hinkie left for you.
So around that area, I know we're not going to talk about this too much, but around that area where we're going to be at 10. Who do you see down there? I've heard Bridges and Porter.
Yeah, I think
Porter's the guy that they're targeting.
I do too.
I think Bridges is a good fit.
I think Bridges is a good fit. I think you'd like to get, obviously, you've got a lot of size and you've got a lot of guys in the front court, so you're really going to be looking for a dynamic shooter/scorer at the 2 to fill in, especially if we don't know what we're going to get from Fultz. And to me, Fultz is a 1/2, so you really are looking to fill that shooting 2 is what you need.
He's that variable that you're just not
You just don't know.
You're kind of sure about everybody else. You know they can play. As far as Ben shot, we don't know about that. But
we know they're big. We just don't know about what's going to happen there. But I'm sure we're going to talk much more NBA draft down the road.
We'll get into that in a week or two. But, yeah, weird situation. I'm glad he's out. I'm glad that now we have this option to kind of hit the reset button on the GM. I don't think that people had trust in Colangelo anyway to begin with. I think there was always that doubt there of who was pulling the strings. Was it his dad? And his dad, by the way,
This is alleged. This is alleged.
In a report comes out that he's going to tear the Sixers to pieces
Yeah.
if they go ahead and fire him.
Yeah.
So it was a
I heard
negotiated.
that. I did see
It was
that.
a negotiated deal where it comes out and he can just resign peacefully.
Well, let me tell you something, and this is why, and after this we'll move on from the Colangelo thing, but let me tell you something. From the beginning, I didn't like Colangelo coming in. I feel like the NBA forced Sam Hinkie out because they didn't want this tanking thing at the forefront for the 76ers, who are a premier NBA franchise.
Because he found the formula.
Dude, I totally agree, and I agreed with the whole process, but the NBA told at Sixers ownership, you have got to get rid of Sam Hinkie, and you have to bring in an NBA guy, and Brian Colangelo was an NBA guy, so they wanted to make sure they brought him in. I never agree with him coming in. I never agree with Hinkie getting let go. So the entire thing to me is a farce, and so I'm glad to see him out of here. The fact that he did it through Twitter burner accounts just proves the guy's a moron, and that's it. Like, I'm done. I'm done with him. I'm done with the Colangelo family. Go ahead, Pops. You want to come after me? You want to come after the Sixers? Good luck, bro.
Either way you look at it, Hinkie started this trend in the NBA, and it's actually bringing this problem to the forefront where they do have to address it because the tanking thing has gotten out of control. The parity in the league is there's a further distance.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about tanking, and this is like literally. There's a great Shaquille O'Neal 30 for 30 that they did, sort of like a mini about tanking when the Magic did it. Tanking has been going on for 20 years. The thing that Hinkie did was actually the first person ever to come out and say, you know what? Not only am I going to tank, I'm going to tell my fans we're going to tank. I want my fans to be on board with us tanking, and we're going to make a whole thing about it. And that's what really got him in trouble. If he kept his mouth shut, like the Orlando Magic GM did, like the Cavs GM did to get LeBron,
it's
like
obvious.
the Celtics GM did so they could get the assets to trade for KG. This has been going on for years, except GMs are just, they act like they're not winning. Look at this year. Mark Cuban comes out and says the Mavericks would be better off if we lose, and the NBA hits him with a $500,000 fine because what they can't afford to have is this image of we're losing on purpose, because you have fans paying hard-earned money to go to these games when the front office is pretty much saying, yeah, we're trying to lose. We're trying to put a roster on the floor that's going to lose.
So whether it's being done without being said or not, what's the difference? They've never come up with a solution to it. I've mentioned to you a couple times about the solution that actually Cuban has come up with, is to make the bottom three teams ineligible for those top three lottery picks. And it starts at the fourth team up. So you do have incentive to at least get to that point where you're playing competitive games, and you cannot tank the entire season.
But the problem is there's always a flip side of that, because then if you let those bottom three teams not get a lottery pick, then they are going to flounder at the bottom forever.
That's their problem. Like if they're gonna tank or at least try to manipulate the draft order, then at least there's a buffer there where not the same team is going to finish in the bottom three every year if you're at least trying to get.
Well, in theory, right, and this is why they tried to set it up this way, and they're changing the ping pong balls, by the way. 1 through 3 are now going to have the same chance to get the first pick instead of just being the last team.
Ping pong balls in general is just.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't know a good solution, because the worst team has always
the best one I've heard so far.
The worst team always has to have the best chance to get the best player, because that's the way these leagues are set up to work.
That's the best one
I've
heard.
You want parity in the leagues, but you can't have it be at
so
the bottom.
So then propose something.
I'm trying. I don't have anything yet.
No, I'm not saying.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Somebody has
I don't think
to.
anybody does.
Well, that's what their job is. That's why they're getting paid the money that they are in the NBA.
True. You think if I came up with something, they'd pay me for it?
I don't know. Let's get this podcast real big, and we'll find out.
All right, let's move on.
That was a whole topic.
I
we didn't even.
No, I didn't think we were going to go that way. Let's move on to the NBA Finals, because I'm itching to talk about the NBA Finals.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Great series.
Great series. Much anticipated sweep.
I predicted the sweep.
So did I. Did you like me calling out all the pundits?
I said Warriors in 7.
Yeah. Did you?
And I meant 7 days.
7 days.
Yeah.
Did you like me calling out all the pundits who picked the Warriors in 5, who kept saying, well, the Cavs will get 1?
I mean,
yeah. You know what?
They should have had at least 1.
If they go on, well, we're going to talk about Game 1 in a minute, so I sort of agree with that. But if you're going to go on national TV, like all these pundits do, and you're just going to shred the Cavaliers, and you're going to praise the Warriors, then be a man and pick the sweep. Don't say the Cavs will get 1. Don't say it'll be 5.
No, but if you really think they're going to win 1, which they should have, that's a perfectly legitimate pick.
Pick the sweep.
Fine.
I picked the sweep.
You took the sweep. I did not pick the sweep.
I said Warriors.
I really think I said Warriors in 6. That's what I think.
Sweep. I knew it.
And what it should have been after Game 1, that fiasco.
Let's talk about Game 1, because Game 1 was by far the best game in the series, right?
Disagree.
Okay.
Game 3 was a good game.
I thought Game 1 was the best game in the series.
Yes. I mean, to go into overtime, yeah, it's
Right.
more entertaining. But
LeBron went off. Absolutely went off.
52 points.
So I had three major issues at the end of the game, right? Let's talk about them. I'm going to talk about them individually. The first one, which actually a lot of time got spent on, was everybody can see the hand quotes, was the charge block play, right? The charge block was a huge deal. And if you didn't watch the game or remember, I'm going to tell you about it. So we got about 2 minutes left, or about 2 minutes 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Kevin Durant drives to the basket. LeBron James slides over and tries to take a charge.
Clearly, in real-time speed, clearly he's moving his feet, he's moving his hips, he's jumping into...
So real-time, I thought it was a block as well. But the back referee goes to make a call, stops, right, and then looks at his buddy. Boom, they go for the charge. Now, Cleveland thinks they got the ball with up 4, 2 minutes and 30 left, so they're in driver's seats. The referees decide they're going to review the play. The ruling for the review was they wanted to check to see if LeBron's feet were in the restricted area, which is fine. However, as part of the NBA rules, which I don't feel like anybody knew, what you can do in that case is actually review the call itself. Is it a block or a charge? So what happens is when they go to do the review, they end up switching and saying that it actually was a block, which it was, and not a charge. So now Kevin Durant gets 2 free throws. That was the huge explosion.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it is they brought on Steve Javi.
Yes.
And he got it wrong.
He got it wrong, too. He did get it wrong. He was trying to defend the call on the floor is what he was trying to do.
Yeah, he was defending his boys, and the most important thing is that you get the call right. I think above all things is that the call's right and play can continue. But it's a weird thing because it's in the middle of action.
Yeah, it is. And the thing about it is I didn't really realize that won't do anything. I didn't really realize that I didn't know the rule that you could replay an actual call, right? I don't think a lot of people realized that you could replay a call, but the thing is you can. And the fact that it's in the rule books lets them do it. The outrage here from everybody on social media, and it's really mostly LeBron fans and Cavs fans, right, is that, well, how can you overturn a judgment call? But it's in the rules. It's in the freaking rules. So if it's in the rules, then you can overturn it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If the NBA has it in the rules, then it's a rule. And what I saw, and I had a term for it, I called it replay shock. People were just shocked because they didn't understand the rule when they overturned it. But, that's not – is it our fault that you didn't know the rules? I didn't know the rules, but they got the call right. So don't tell me that they shouldn't be doing a replay when they actually get the call right.
I think at a stoppage of play, it's legitimate to have that as a rule. When there's a stoppage of play, immediately following the call. And that's one of those instances where you can do it. Like, are you going to do that on an out-of-bounds play where play continues, where you think you're out of bounds, but nobody's really sure? Like, you can't go back in time.
Right.
The NBA is trying to do that now, where they do go back in time, and they'll changing a three-pointer to a two-pointer is a little bit different because you simply just change the score. But for foul calls and things like that, I don't know if that's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. I do agree with that. But at the same time, listen, it is what it is. I don't want to hear outrage because people don't like the replay. The fact is that they got the call right. And so the replay is in there for a reason to get the call right. And they got the call right. So that is what it is. And to me, the fact that they got the call right makes for a better game because when I watched it real time, I think you felt the same. We were texting about it.
Yeah.
I said block, you said block, but the call on the floor was charge. And then when they showed the replay, it was clearly a block.
The officiating in the entire series was pretty bad overall.
I hate when people say that.
No, but it was.
I don't agree.
It was clearly bad. Just going through Twitter and seeing everybody, all the experts out there.
Everybody.
This is the poorest officiated series that we've seen in a really long time.
Until next year. Until last year's.
You're right.
That's the way it is. Dude, everybody wants to blame the refs in basketball. I don't understand why. I never understand why. Everybody just wants to blame the referees in basketball.
It was important that they got the call right. They did. I disagree with maybe the rules of the NBA to be able to do that, but at the same time, it was the right call. It got resolved.
So the reason
that was the first issue.
That's right, and this is a pivotal swing because like we talked about now, it went from the Cavs being up 4 with the ball to Kevin Durant on the line for 2, and he makes 2, right? But there's plenty of game left here, so we get into issue 2. George Hill gets fouled. 3.5 seconds left on the clock, or 3.8, somewhere in that range, right? And the Cavs are down 1.
Right.
He's shooting 2. So, here we go. Makes the first.
Yep.
Okay, we're in business. Misses the second. I would have stopped right there.
Yeah, first of all, you got to make that shot.
You got to make the free throw.
You're an 80% free throw shooter career.
Yeah.
You're 32 years old.
Yeah, what are you doing?
You're a veteran. You need to kind of man up and make that shot.
You need to make that shot.
Am I going to kill him for that? No, because plenty of people have been in that position and missed that shot. It's a pressure situation.
True.
The real bonehead play comes
right after this.
in the following
So
milliseconds.
right after this, J.R. Smith gets the rebound. And rather than turn and try and take a jump shot or kick it out to somebody to take a jump shot, he pulls the ball out past the three-point line. Meanwhile, LeBron's looking at him like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
And now all of a sudden, he throws it to somebody in the corner to throw up some heave shot, but they don't get a shot off, and they go to overtime, game tied.
So obviously, he had no idea what the score was. He thought that they were ahead. Now, whether he was sitting on the foul line thinking, preparing for if they did get the lead, I think that's what happened in J.R. Smith's mind.
That's exactly
he was
what happened.
Preparing for when this shot is made.
Exactly
what are we going to do?
Happened.
Well, when the shot isn't made, he panics.
Right, he got
and
the ball.
has no idea where he is.
He panics.
Runs to midcourt.
Right.
So this brings up an interesting question. Is this top 3 all-time bonehead plays?
Well, I don't know
history?
because, see, here's the thing about it. Let's actually think about this logically, right? Just because he got the ball doesn't mean that him taking like a turnaround fadeaway jump shot's a good idea there, right? The fact is that what we're really upset about is that he didn't give the Cavs a chance to get a good look off or at least some sort of shot off. But at the same time, like, people are acting like if he would have knew that and turned around and take a shot, like they would have won. That's not a guarantee. You don't know if he's going to make a shot or if somebody else is going to make a shot.
I was interested in who they had underneath the rim. Was Tristan Thompson under there and J.R. Smith? And J.R. Smith to me doesn't seem like the guy you have under the rim there.
Well, they did because they should have Kevin Love down there.
Right.
But Kevin Love was not in the game because, and this is a coaching move, you always anticipate your free throw shooter is going to make 2. And so they don't want Kevin Love on the floor.
Defense.
Right. They don't want Kevin Love on the floor. After they make the first one, they're going to make sure Kevin Love's not in the game because they don't. If George Hill makes the second and they're up 1, they don't want Kevin Love in there defensively.
So if he makes that shot, J.R. Smith obviously has a very important role on the defensive end of the floor at that
That's
point.
correct.
And that's what they were preparing for. But if you're J.R. Smith, you know how much time's on the clock. You should be going right up with the ball.
Yeah, you should.
Right up.
Well,
you don't have to turn around and do a fadeaway shot.
No.
You go right up with the ball.
Well, there was
Get
3
back
seconds
on the
left.
line.
3 seconds is time for a pass, 2 dribbles, and a shot. I mean, you could throw it to LeBron at the back or someone at the corner.
You go straight
or
up.
you could turn around.
You go straight up. You get the opportunity. If you don't make the easy layup, he's right in front of the basket. If you don't make it, you get a foul. You go back to the line. You're J.R. Smith. You're a good free throw shooter. You're ahead by 3 points.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Anyway, you want to at least get something up. The big argument, like I was just saying, you never know if he's actually going to make it. Right? It's hard to say, but you want to make sure you at least get a shot up.
So, to me, I looked at this and the big bonehead plays that really came into effect for me that I put up there with this one was Bill Buckner.
Yeah.
And the Chris Webber timeout.
Yeah.
Are there any more that you can think of off the top of your head that are like bigger bonehead plays than that
Okay, so the one that comes to mind to me.
I know what you're going to say.
The one that comes to mind with me, I don't think you do actually.
I might.
The one that comes to mind with me, and I always tie it to the Buckner because I love the 30 for 30 catching hell. Did you see that one?
Probably.
Is the Bartman Cubs fan play where he reaches over and steals the ball from Alou?
Yeah, but not an athlete.
But that's still one of the biggest bonehead plays, technically,
by a fan,
I've ever seen.
Who was completely unprepared for that situation.
It was insane, dude.
It was.
By the way, that's a great 30 for 30.
I'm saying by an athlete. Is this the biggest bonehead play?
No,
since Chris Webber.
To me, Chris Webber is number 1 by far. This is definitely in the top 3.
I put it up there.
The thing is about the Buckner thing. Here's the thing about the Buckner thing. The Buckner wasn't a bonehead play. That was just an error, right? I mean, errors are going to happen. It was one of the worst errors you're ever going to see.
It was
ever.
terrible.
It's probably the worst error you'll ever see in the history of errors. However, they're going to happen in a game. You and I both know this. Right. They're going to happen.
So that's the gist of game 1. And as soon as they hit overtime there, you know they're going to get blown out, right?
Right.
That's for me. As soon as they hit overtime, I said, this game's over. Warriors are going to win this in overtime.
Yes.
Because they have the ability to flip a switch and from a tie game, you're now down 12 points within a minute and a half.
Yes.
They have that ability on offense, and that's what they did. They turned it up. So move on to game 2. Steph Curry sets records with how many three-pointers. He's throwing them up from half court. He's throwing them up behind his back.
He's ridiculous. That game was never even close. They blew him out.
So that game is just basically a wash.
Yeah, Golden State blew him out.
So game 3 now. Game 3 is what loses Steph Curry the MVP of the series, correct?
Katie gets
so he goes cold the entire game. Do you find this to be a big deal, the MVP of the finals? Does this really tarnish Curry's legacy in the league?
All right.
Because the way that it's being put out there in the media is that this really it's a black spot on Curry's.
All right,
entire career
here's my problem.
If he
with
doesn't
this.
win an MVP.
Here's my problem with this. Personally, I don't. Okay. However, as I always have to argue on the side of Kobe Bryant, I always get hit with, well, Shaq won those 3 finals MVPs. So, since I always get hit with that, then I have to fire back that no, I don't think that it's that important at all. Not at all. It's not important to me at all, matter of fact.
No, it doesn't change the way I think about Steph Curry as the best shooter of all time.
Right. He's the best shooter of all time by far, right? And look, late in that game, even though he was 0 for 8 from 3, late in that game, that was a tight game, and the Cavaliers are in that game until about a minute 30 left. Steph comes down in transition, 2 guys, bad defense. He ends up with a wide open look, and he drains it. And then the next possession, Katie comes down and makes one from swaggy range, 40 feet, bangs it, and all of a sudden the Cavs go from being down 2 to down 8 with a minute left in the game.
The thing of it is, Cavs had control of that entire game.
Yeah, except for those 2 possessions, and that's all it took to lose the game.
Right. So they flipped the switch, take it, and obviously we moved to game 4.
I want to talk about game 4.
The terrible part about it is game 1 really set the tone for the entire series. So
the Cavs needed game 1.
If the Cavs go ahead and they steal game 1, that changes the mindset of the entire team for the entire series.
There's no question about it. The fact that they don't get game 1 with the performance that LeBron puts out, how tight that they play there. I mean, honestly, the fact that they couldn't win it in regulation was it. Because as soon as they went to overtime, they got destroyed.
Right.
And then from there, it was just an absolute joke. The rest of the series to me was a joke.
So what do you want to go into about game 4?
Okay, what I want to go into about game 4 was that they rolled over and just played dead. They didn't even play. LeBron was sitting on the bench at the beginning of the 4th quarter when they're down 15 points. And to me, that's just outrageous. What are you doing? You have to be playing. I don't care. You're LeBron James. It's the finals. You're just going to give up. To me, that was a joke. When I looked up at the game and he was on the bench in the 4th quarter, you know what I did? Turn it off. Turn the game off. I was done with it.
There's no reason to watch it from the beginning anyway.
Well, that's true. I mean, I knew they were going to lose.
When you saw him show up to the court, staring at his phone, completely
it was done.
Completely unfocused.
He was done.
You know what? I can't blame the guy for that. He's trying to drag this team as far as he can, and the game 1, like I said, really set the tone for the entire team, the rest of the way. But since we're talking about LeBron,
all right, let me just go into something I really want to talk about. I've had arguments with everybody about this. What I'm tired of hearing about, and this is it's going to be anti-LeBron, is what I'm tired of hearing about is the fact that it was LeBron James against the 4 next best players in the series.
It was.
It was not.
It was.
It was not. It's LeBron James against 2 of the top 5 best players in the world. Klay Thompson, who is a somewhere maybe top 10 to 15 player, right? And then Kevin Love.
Kevin Love had a big series.
It's Kevin Love next. You want me to tell you how big?
Well, he had a big series on the rebounding side of things. I was impressed by him.
Hang on a second.
For somebody that I've looked, he's inconsistent.
Kevin Love is a better player than Draymond Green, flat out. Kevin Love's a better player than Draymond Green. I'm tired of hearing about Draymond Green. Let me give you numbers. I got to go numbers. Numbers guy. Here we go. Here's numbers for the series. By the way, Kevin Love, this is his 10th season. This is my soliloquy for Kevin Love. It's the underappreciation of Kevin Love, okay? Kevin Love, here's the series. Well, this is his 10th season. He's a 5-time All-Star. I'll give you the games. Game 1, 21-13. Game 2, 22-10. Game 3, 20-13. And then Game 4, which was, as we both agree, was kind of a turd anyway, 13-9. For comparison, you want to hear what Draymond Green did? Here you go. Big old Draymond Green. His best game of the series by far was 13-11. Okay, double-double. Not bad, right? Here you go. Game 2, 5-8. Game 3, 10-2. And then Game 4, again, who cares, but 9-3. Like, to me,
but people have been on the fact that Draymond's fallen off this year. I mean,
I think
it's no surprise there.
No, Draymond.
Why is Draymond there?
Draymond is he's great on that team. He's an all-world defender. Okay, I'll give him.
That's why
that.
he's there. He's there to play defense.
He's an all-world defender. But when you look at the player overall, the pantheon, Kevin Love's a better rebounder. He's a better scorer. He does everything better than Draymond Green aside from play defense.
This year,
his entire career,
this series, he's been inconsistent. You can't deny that he's.
I don't agree with the fact that Kevin Love has been inconsistent. What I will tell you about Kevin Love, which is what no one ever talks about, and happened to Chris Bosh too. Here's what happens when you take a big guy who came from a situation where he was getting 25 and 15 and is a gifted offensive scorer, right? And he dominates the boards. He's used to getting a lot of touches in the paint. But when you go play with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, or in this case for Kevin Love, LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, you can't play on the block as a big man because you're clogging up the lane for them. So you have to play outside in instead of inside out. And so what happens is you end up shooting more set threes, and your production isn't as good, and people think your game fell off. It happened to Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was a perennial all-star, a great player, but he had to take the third banana roll in Miami. And then the same thing happened to Kevin Love. I don't want to hear that Kevin Love fell off. Kevin Love is still an all-star. He's been an all-star the last 2 years. His numbers are great. By the way, if we're going to talk about career, Kevin Love averages 11.3 rebounds per game for his career. You know what Draymond averages? 6.9.
Well, you're sitting here like I'm making an argument about Draymond Green. Like
I am, though. I'm making an argument.
I get it. I get it. But to say that Kevin Love hasn't been inconsistent in playoffs, in these playoffs, against the Celtics, against the Raptors, there's games where he doesn't show up where LeBron has to carry everybody, and that's what he's done. He had a good final series. What did it get him? Not even a win.
Well, no, but again, I don't think that.
I was impressed. I told you, I was impressed by the way he played. I was impressed by a couple of flashes that I saw from Larry Nance Jr., but other than that, you didn't really see
Well,
anybody.
No, the Cavs roster overall clearly is inferior to the Warriors, but the whole thing about them, I'm tired of the narrative about they have the four best players outside of LeBron, and the truth is they don't. They have the three best, and I still think. But look,
I would agree with three. I'm not ready to put Draymond up there,
right?
But
listen to who we're talking to. I think the Warriors are the best team we've ever seen. That's my opinion. I think the Warriors are the best team I've ever seen.
So if you take Draymond off that team and you put him on another team, he's nowhere near the person that he is on this team.
He fits for that team what they need.
Yeah, he gets in people's heads.
Exactly.
He's there to annoy people. He's there to curse out the refs. He's there to grab a rebound.
That's right.
And
be an agitator.
And hawk up a three-pointer every once in a while.
That's right.
The shots that he was throwing up were disgusting.
Well, this is a small-known fact about Draymond and Steve Kerr. They argue all the time about him shooting too much. Draymond wants to take more threes, and Steve Kerr yells at him every time he takes.
But being a part of that team, it allows him to be able to just go out there and do that with no harm.
I agree.
But doing that on another team, if he did that with any other team.
Yeah, he wouldn't be the player. He wouldn't even be close to the player that he is or considered the player that he is.
Right. So the support, at the end, the support LeBron got wasn't enough. I'm not putting that. I'm not saying that it was the reason that they lost the series. Should LeBron have played better maybe in a couple of those games? Maybe he could have, but you asked the guy to do so much. He has to carry the team. He's the guy that has to step up. He's the guy that has to make the big defensive play, then get back on offense, make the big offensive play. There's nobody else there that supports that. There's nobody else there that supplements what he does. He always has to be the guy to flip the switch and turn it on, and he has to. That's why he paces himself. That's why he has these off games, because you can only sustain that for so long.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I don't think he could have done any more. That's why he's leaving Cleveland. It's bottom line. That's why he's not going to be back next year, because I don't think he could have done any more than he did. He played out of his mind game one.
So why don't we jump right into that? LeBron is out of Cleveland.
Yes.
There's a handful of teams that are now up. They're all suiting him. Right?
Yes.
They're all trying to.
They're courting
him.
It's courting season.
It's courting season. So I have a handful of teams here that
they got gel in their hair. They're ready to go.
That LeBron can go to. That I honestly, I can tell you where the best fit is, and I know we agree on this. So let's start with Cleveland. To go back to Cleveland, Cleveland has some really bad salary cap issues. They have some terrible, terrible contracts. They have J.R. Smith, who's next year going to make $15.6 million. Tristan Thompson's going to make $18.5 million. George Hill is going to make $18 million, and Jordan Clarkson, who we didn't hear about once in the finals, is going to make $13.4 million. and it's really just a poorly run organization.
They mortgaged the future to try and win this year with these moves they made, and they paid Thompson and JR from 2 years ago and 3 years ago. They can't keep him. I see no chance that he stays because of the situations you just laid out. So there's no way they can improve that roster enough to keep him.
It's safe to say that he's out of Cleveland. So let's look at the other teams. Okay,
yes.
The other teams that are being talked about are the Lakers. First of all, for any team that gets mentioned in the West, does LeBron want to go to the West and chance that he runs into the Warriors in the conference semifinals?
I just don't see any reason for him to leave
finals.
the East. We talk about this all the time. I don't see any reason for him to leave the East. I don't know why he would leave the East. Whatever team he's on in the East, right, is a golden ticket to the finals.
Right.
And
so
you get there, you get there.
Beyond the glitz and glamour of Los Angeles, which I don't think LeBron's that guy that really is out looking for that. Beyond all that, do you want to have to deal with LeVar Ball? That's really a factor. You have to consider that.
No, I agree.
Because this guy's gonna be on TMZ talking about you. He's gonna be talking about the team.
Yeah.
He's gonna be trying to stick his nose into everything where it doesn't belong. Do you want that? You have to consider.
No, you're right. I agree with you. I don't think the Lakers are an option. Let's.
Second thing is Paul George is likely going to LA.
Well, so here's the thing.
So even with Paul George, do the Lakers have?
Right.
Do they have enough to get you to the Warriors?
Right. That's the ultimate question is if you put LeBron and Paul George on the Lakers roster, are they good enough to beat the Warriors? And the answer is no.
They have a decent young team. They do. They have Kuzma, Ingram, Ball. Isaiah's an unrestricted free agent, I think, now.
I mean,
but you don't want to go back with him anyway.
He's.
But I don't think that Paul George gets them over the hump with LeBron.
I don't either.
I don't think that. Okay.
No.
So there's just too much unknown to make a good basketball decision, even with Paul George there.
Yeah. And I don't ultimately see the big appeal for him to go to the Lakers anyway.
So let's say the Lakers are out. Let's move on to the Rockets, another team that has been thrown about. How can James Harden, Chris Paul, and LeBron James coexist there?
So personally, I know the Rockets are popular only because of that star power, and it's like they would add that third star, right? But to be honest with you, I don't think he's a great fit there. I don't think that his style of play fits with D'Antoni's system. I don't think it fits with those guys. I think LeBron is a great chameleon. He could probably, change his game to fit there. I don't see him as a great fit in Houston. I could see him going there just because it would be the top three of his best.
It would be the banana boat picture,
yeah,
right?
He's good friends with Chris Paul, and it would be, in terms of roster moves, right, in terms of talent on a roster, easily top 2 or 3 best moves for him to get to that type of roster, right?
Basketball-wise, it makes no sense to me because even if there's reports that have come out that say he wants to play off the ball, it doesn't make sense that way because James Harden, when you have Chris Paul on the floor at the same time, there's only so much of that ball to go around. Now, Chris Paul is able to distribute, but is he able to distribute enough to James Harden, who's a guy that is going to get his shots up, and he needs to get his shots up to be effective? Is there enough time and possessions to even have LeBron within that system?
No. And by the way,
if you don't have LeBron taking the ball up in that situation, there's not enough ball for Harden.
By the way, think about this, and I know you said it doesn't make basketball sense, but I want to put it in your terms because you love pacing, and you love how LeBron controls the pacing of games, right?
Yes.
But the Rockets control pacing of games how? By playing up-tempo all the time. That doesn't fit LeBron's play style. He doesn't play up-tempo all the time. A lot of times he crawls the ball up the floor, drains a shot clock, plays off a pick and roll, takes shot. That's not what the Rockets do.
Well,
it's just not what the Rockets do.
I also think that there was limitations within with LeBron to do that with the roster that he had.
But he's played like that his entire career. That's how LeBron is. He controls pacing in the game. He's never been a D'Antoni system guy, in my opinion.
It
doesn't suit his game.
I see him playing with Chris Paul, but just to have him and Harden on the floor at the same time, I just find it to be a problem.
Right.
So that's the take on the Rockets. The other one, there's 2 others that I want to talk to before we get local. So San Antonio, if this wasn't the West and Kawhi stays, I think that makes the most basketball sense. To play with a coach like Popovich, play with Kawhi, who's the best two-way player in the game, everybody says is the best two-way player in the game. I think that makes the most basketball sense if you're looking at a Western Conference team. Again, I don't think that you take that risk if you're LeBron and you stay in the West. San Antonio is not a sexy place to play.
All right, let's talk about Spurs. So here's the problem with Spurs roster right now. First off, there's two big ifs. There's one intangible and then a big if in what you said. It's if they weren't in the West, but they are, so that's not going to work, right? You got to go to the West. And the second is, does Kawhi stay? Personally, I think he's out, right? I think Kawhi is going to leave. And the second thing that is unheralded here is in order to bring LeBron in, right, they'd have to clear a good portion of their roster, some of the better players on the roster, including Rudy Gay. Right? And
you meant to say some of the older players on the roster.
Well, and at the same time, better, right? I mean, their better players are older. Pau Gasol and Rudy Gay are two of their better players, and they're older.
They are, but what have the Spurs been able to do for the last decade and a half?
Well, by the way, that includes Danny Green because he gets paid a good amount of money, and he's one of your better younger players. So here's the problem. You have to clear two of those guys to bring LeBron in.
Which I think is possible.
So, but once they're clear, are you telling me that Kawhi, LeBron, Danny Green, and then the bunch are enough to beat the Warriors?
Aldridge?
Tata, LaMarcus, tall, and that's all? I mean, I don't think that roster is enough.
But does that not change his? Does that not change his role on the team if you add LeBron?
Well, but what do you want his role to change to? He can only do one thing. He can only be tall. He's not a great rebounder for his size. He can shoot that elbow shot, but he's not a great rim protector. LaMarcus Aldridge can only do one thing, and that's like shoot that mid-range jump shot. That's it. That's all he can do. And be tall.
But LeBron can create that for him. I just think he obviously. I
think it's certainly a possibility, but I don't think if I'm LeBron, I don't look at the Spurs roster as constituted, even with Kawhi, as a surefire place we can beat the Warriors.
Okay, so we've gone through the West of
Yes.
the possible teams in the West. Now let's jump to the one other team in the East that is looking to get into the mix on this thing. And
I have a wild card for you.
And that's Boston.
Yeah, so Boston, I don't see any way that Boston brings LeBron in because if they do, they guarantee themselves they can't keep Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie, the city of Boston, I think, has hitched themselves to Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, they did in making that move in the first place.
He's become a fan favorite there.
They want Kyrie for the next 10 years.
He's tied up until the 2021 season.
Right.
I think he becomes a free agent.
They want him to play there until 2029.
Now, does his knee injuries, for the last however many seasons, that comes into effect?
Yeah, it does, but I'm not. Are you concerned about his injuries? I'm not too concerned.
Absolutely.
About him. I think he'll be fine.
Absolutely. He's always out. He's always out when it counts, except for the 1 year where the Cavs went ahead and won the championship.
Yeah, okay.
He's been out every season. He's always had injury issues. He's always had problems with the knees going back to college. And I think that if you're the Celtics, you need to make a decision. Are we really going to hitch our wagon to a guy that's been out of the playoffs for the last few years?
But I think they already made that decision. I think it's yes. I mean, I think it's undoubtedly yes. Look at what they have coming back next year.
They know they need to make changes, though, if they want to get over the hump in the East.
I don't think that's true.
Gordon
Hayward and Kyrie Irving are coming back.
But the unknown is Kyrie's injuries. That's the unknown. And you're talking about a guy like Hayward coming back off that horrendous ankle injury. There's too many.
Paul George did the same thing, right? He came back off the same leg injury.
There's two different people, two different injuries.
I agree with you, but
there's too much unknown there for them to stand pat and say we're just gonna sit here and we're gonna be better than the Sixers next year.
Well, because
the Sixers are growing.
The Sixers are the best roster in the East, even ahead of the Celtics. Do you disagree with that?
I agree with you 100% because they're only going to grow from here. They have a guy in his third year, Embiid, and they have Simmons, and they're only going to get better. They've now experienced the playoffs, which they haven't been in the playoffs.
They
since
won a playoff
2012.
series.
They won the series. They took listen, it was a good series with Boston. The Boston flat out beat them. They were out coached.
True.
They flat out beat them.
True.
But that experience is important. Guys like, we've talked about this every single pod. We've talked about how Boston had maintained that shooting, how they maintained that energy. In the end, it petered out when they hit LeBron. They weren't able to get over that hump there. So I think for the Sixers to come in with a much more what I view as talented roster, and to grow on experience now,
and then if you add the best player in the world,
that puts them past the Celtics, and that's the perfect fit.
And the thing is, when we talk about in terms of not just pure fits, when we talk about financial fits, when you talk about adding pieces fits, there literally is no better slot than the Sixers, and we're even leaving out the Ben Simmons to LeBron James relationship.
Right. So if LeBron truly wants to play off the ball, how is this not an obvious fit for him?
It's perfect.
You have basically your clone coming up in Ben Simmons. he's the least selfish player of all the young superstars in the league, in my opinion.
Yep.
I don't see anybody out there like him that doesn't need the ball to shine on the floor. He's almost the same player as LeBron when he came into the league without the shot so far, so that's going to develop. It's going to get a little bit better. I'm not banking on him to start shooting three-pointers at all.
No.
But they share the same agent, right? That's a big factor. He went to like his camps.
They worked out together all last summer. They're really tight.
It makes LeBron the best fit here because what he does with some of the role players to even diminish their role a little bit further to make them a little better. So you look at guys like Nick Young and on the Warriors, where he wasn't asked to be their full-time like three-point guy. It's going to make guys like Robert Covington better.
Dude, I totally agree.
It's going to make
it enhances when you bring a guy like LeBron in.
Because you're not going to see Robert Covington for 20 minutes a game.
No, you're going to see him for 15 to 18, which is what you want to see.
And you're going to like him a lot more in that role.
I totally agree. And look, here's the bottom line when it comes to just roster moves. If you're LeBron James and you're turning 34 next year, so you figure you got 2, maybe 3 years left at this high level, and you want to go to a team that can compete now, but can compete for the next 3 years. The Sixers are it, man. They are it. I know we're in Philly. I know it's sort of a local hometown take.
We're a little bit biased,
but
sure.
But this is the place, the only place for LeBron.
The question that I do have for you is, it's kind of a two-parter. So does the Colangelo thing put a damper on him coming here?
If anything, I think it helps. You know why?
Because David Griffin.
So
you've heard this name, David Griffin, who's the former GM of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's boys with LeBron.
And now LeBron James has sung Griffin's praises forever about him building teams, and now the Sixers are looking for a GM. So you don't think that in the back of the Sixers' mind, look, David Griffin's a perfectly great GM to bring in. The Sixers need a GM. You don't think if they bring him in that LeBron's coming here? I mean, here's the thing. If you are in Vegas, right, and the Sixers hired David Griffin, literally the LeBron sweepstakes, like they have the team's odds out, the Sixers are going to dip below 1-1 because when they bring David Griffin in, it's going to be like, okay, LeBron's coming.
It's almost a sealed deal.
It's a sealed deal.
It makes the most basketball sense. It makes the most sense salary cap-wise. It makes the most sense location-wise. It's the perfect fit. And when he comes here, you better just buy tickets to the finals.
Yeah, exactly. Get your season tickets now because then you get the first shot at playoff tickets.
Knock on wood for the health of Embiid and for the health of Simmons, but you can punch your ticket.
Yep, I agree.
So,
all right, let's talk on NHL Finals before we close it out. What do you think?
Very, very happy to see Ovechkin finally get one.
You are. You're an OV guy, aren't you?
I really am, because you know what? He makes no bones about what his role is in this league and what he sets out to do in every game. He's there to do one thing and one thing only. He's not there to pass it. He's not there to weave his way through people.
He's a gifted scorer.
He is there to put the puck in the back of the net. He's done it for so many years. He's been so good at it. He camps out on that left wing and just blasts slap shots, one-timers. He's made a living doing it. He's become one of the best players in NHL history, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this, because you're going down where I wanted to go with this. Before we talk about the series itself, because I did want to talk about the games, because I got into the series, and I want to talk about how the Capitals were able to beat the Knights. But so you think this was really important for Ovechkin's legacy, right? To get one?
Absolutely. Because you don't talk in the NHL. You don't talk about the top players of all time without having
guys who haven't won a cup. I agree with that. I think, but do you think he needs one more? Because typically all-time greats in the NHL get multiple cups, don't they?
I think that he would have been in the conversation up there with the greats, but this really has solidified it. Because what the Caps have done, if you look at them, they've won the President's Cup how many times?
Oh, yeah.
They've been the best team in the league how
Yes.
many times? And they finally just were able to put it all together at the right time. They had a really good situation, I think, going up against an inexperienced Knights team. I say inexperienced as a single unit. They obviously have guys that have been there and have been in the playoff situations before, but as an entire unit playing in that situation, it's a little bit different than going into it with a team that you've played for many years.
I think the key with this series, and what happens is the Knights relied on their defense and goaltending to get there, right? And I had a great stat for them. So the Knights were, let me just find it here real quick before I say it. They were undefeated this postseason when they held their opponent to under 3 goals. And if you look at their series with the Jets, they won the games 2-1, 3-2, right? You know how many times they held the Caps under 3 goals in the finals, the 5 games? 0.
Okay.
They won the first game because they scored 7. They won 7-3. But then after that, they couldn't hold the Caps down. Fleury played really well throughout the postseason, but the Caps are so good offensively that they got to them. And the Knights this year haven't been an overly offensive, great gifted scoring team. They have not scored a lot of goals this year. They've been the best defensive team in hockey.
The Caps were obviously bigger, faster, stronger, more aggressive.
Yes.
For sure. The old Fleury came out, right? So
yes.
We've seen Fleury go through the playoffs like spot-free. We've seen him win cups before. But we've also seen him in the playoffs where he falters and
yes.
where he trips himself up and then he gets in his own head.
That's right.
And that's what happened in this series. On the other side of the ice, though.
But do you think he played poorly?
No, not terribly.
I didn't feel like he played awful in the finals. I felt like the Caps' offense was so good.
They're a high-powered offense. They've always been, and when they're clicking on all cylinders,
I feel like they're impossible to stop.
They can make a lot of teams look bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for a goalie that's been in that situation, that has seen himself get down and not be able to pick himself back up, I think that's what happened.
I agree with you too.
But on the other side of the ice, Holtby, who we didn't know if he was going to be the guy to.
You're right.
Cement, finalize his role there. He's been one of these up-and-coming guys for so long, and then he developed into a veteran, and now he was that guy where you weren't sure if they were going to put who's their backup. I forget his name. Grubauer? Whatever.
It could be.
We didn't know going into this finals if we were going to see more of their backup goalie. And he solidified himself as, I'm going to take over this finals. I'm going to grow the sickest neck beard of all time. It's disgusting.
How about Ovechkin's beard? Oh, my God.
He just has fun, man.
The
He's
guy,
a little kid.
First off, I do like him. I do. I know it's a lot of times it seems like I don't. I do like him. I sort of like the parody of him, never winning too.
I appreciate that
he's the best. He's the best scorer.
He goes out and he says, "This is what I'm going to do. This is all I'm going to try to do." He makes no bones about it. He's going to go score. So.
Well, do you remember a couple years ago when he got in trouble for driving the cart around in the arena? he just likes to have fun.
He's swimming in fountains
yesterday.
DC.
That was great.
He's having a
Eating
blast.
hot dogs, drinking beer at the game. No, I am glad. I do like to. I do like to see that he got his legacy cemented as a great player. And it was an entertaining finals because, again, the Capitals are a great team to watch, right? You like to watch good offense. And in this case, the final series really was good offense beat great defense. That's what it was.
Stanley Cup hockey, especially in the finals.
And NHL playoffs are
even though
great.
It wasn't the best series that we've seen, it was still.
It was entertaining.
It's always fast-paced. It's always entertaining. And obviously with the Vegas aspect, the fact that they have the entire pregame show that's been on the pregame.
That's so much fun.
A lot of fun. So it was good.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right, guys.
Let's wrap this up.
We're going to wrap up the pod, the first live from the Hill ever. I want to thank you guys for coming out.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
Thank you all for coming out.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John, for having us.
Thanks, John, for having us.
Appreciate it.
We're going to be here. We're going to be here hanging out all day.
Hopefully the sound will be a little bit better next time. Sorry for everybody in the back if you couldn't hear us. But thanks very much, John. We'll be back. We love Five Saints Distillery. Everybody drink up, eat up, have a good time.
We appreciate everybody coming out to see it. That's it for the Prof. Swags out.
See you.